welcome. So this video has been on my playlist for a while, or my my list of videos to upload, I should say. It's called Inner Visions of the Mountain Man. It's about a guy, well, it's starring a guy named Gary Camozzi, who was a very unique person who lived in Rossland, BC. And then we met him. So my wife and I had filmed a geopolitical odyssey documentary some time ago called Escape from America, which we then toured around in British Columbia with our camper, leaving off various forms of government funding in order to do so, to start our video production business. And we did like 8 or 10 of these shows across BC. The very last show we did was in Rossland, BC, at the end of it was a sports ski film festival thing, and I had a ski movie that was in it. All those scratch the surface excerpts you saw were actually in that in their full form. We also had this geopolitical odyssey that we put in there. They allowed into the festival, and it was the very last showing, the very last video of the whole festival. It was like Sunday afternoon. Everyone's all burned out, and we're in this room as the artistes sitting in the back. I'm sure Vesna was wearing like a boa or something, and I probably had some cords on and some glasses and a goatee and maybe a beret or something, maybe not quite that far. And so during the show, it starts with like 100 people in the audience, and we were used to seeing people walk out of the show. Like our first show, like 7 people got up and left after like 130, because it was a unique film. We'll just leave it at that. One show, like nobody left. They loved it. Another show, 20 people left, and blah, blah, blah. This show, it was about 100 people started, and literally like 75 people got up and left. And we're sitting in the back watching this. Just like, and I understood why. It wasn't fitting. It wasn't what the audience was there to see. There was like rock star ski movies, all weekend, and surf films and mountain bike movies and all these things. And here's this like low production geopolitical odyssey. I'll just keep calling it that. It was a glorified wedding video of all things. Point being, it was quite humbling to have everyone leave. All these people left. And then at the end, there was like 10 people, and we're hanging out bullshitting. And then there's this one guy sitting down front and center. And he was like 5 foot tall, wearing a little windsuit with a hood and a little backpack. He had like a plastic bag wrapped around his backpack, and he was dirty looking, like sooty. And he was sitting down in front, and he came and talked to us. And it turns out he was like, he was our #1 fan of all time. So we probably showed the video to, let's say, 500 people. He was #1 fan, and we always joked that the video was like a litmus test for the awareness of the audience. Like, so this totally like, what level are they at in their spiritual evolution? Are they going to get this film or not? Like, about as pretentious and postmodern as you literally can get. Literally. I'll say literally again. So then there's Gary Camozzi. He's our #1 fan. And he just starts talking at me, and I'm just like, holy cow, this guy's awesome. And I asked if I could just start filming his interview with him. And I like whipped out my little camera, and he just keeps going. He talked for like 2 hours straight. This is the edit. I think it's crunched down to like 13 minutes. You know, the 13 minutes that like I could get into a cohesive thing. And the reason I'm doing this now is I'd heard like a month ago, the unfortunate passing of Gary Camozzi. I know he's a local legend in Rossland, BC. So I'm finally getting around to doing this. So cheers to you, Gary. I'm glad I met you. So yeah, enjoy. This is a good one.
My name is Gary Camozzi. I was born in Rossland, BC. My father is a Kootenai. My grandfather's a Kootenai. I've been here a long time. And what the message that we all want to hear, I'm sure, is that we want to find that God within. And I'm very glad for your movie that there was a great deal of that emphasis in that movie. That was really the important thing, more than anything else. Global warming and all that sort of thing is, a very good possibility and all that sort of stuff. And we see that the time is coming when we may have that global shift again, not just in human consciousness, but also in the actual physical moving of the earth, which has happened before, as we know. And I think at this point, then we should be really aware, as we always should, is that we're spiritual people. And at first, that we're spirit, and that we should concentrate on that. And that perhaps if we all did daily spiritual practice in whatever form that took for each one of us, that would make a great difference to the world. For we do, in fact, control, affect, and so on, the weather and everything else. And that's kind of what I'd like to say as far as the summation of watching the film was, my reaction to the film. As far as the Freemasons, they sometimes trace themselves back to the Comocene stonemasons, which was an architectural school in Lake Como, which disbanded around 400 or so AD when Rome was conquered by the barbarians. But it appears that it would seem that my family is related to that as Camozzi, which is a name in Italy, kind of all over in the north. So that's just kind of a personal thing. The other thing that I'm a little wary about saying this. Well, I went to Rainbow this year in California, as I went to the original Rainbow and several others, and also went to that Shasta one 20 years ago.
Like a rainbow gathering?
Yes.
Oh, I've heard of those.
And it's Hopi prophecy that there would be a people that would come that would have long hair and beads and headbands and would be the first non-Indian friends of the Indians and would have a name something like Hopi. And so the name for the white people, for the Hopi, is the Haipe, and there's the Hopis, and there's the hippies. And we were that prophecy. And that is why we've come into this time of the galactic realignment, or the galactic alignment, where the sun goes across the plane, the ecliptic of the galaxy.
December 21st, 2012.
Yes, and that date can be moved by a few years forward or back by a number of factors, such as what is the true center of the sun, electromagnetically, gravitationally, ultravioletly, and the same with the galaxy. So one of the estimates was Jan Meus, famous astrologer, U.S. Naval Observatory, who was saying that May 1998 was when this event happened. But this factor can be extended by a number of years, both forward and backward, even up to about 2240, depending on these other factors that we're not fully aware of entirely. Nevertheless, the Mayans made that statement, and if anybody was obsessed by time, it had to be the Mayans. And I think that we look back, I'm a stonemason, when we look back at all of the things that we built, we don't know how to build them yet today. We don't know who built many of them, most of them. We don't know how they were built. And if we know why they were built, I quote Gerald Hawkins and Santa Fe in Heaven's Mirror, who say, right on the first page, that they were built for immortality and astronomical alignments. That was the reason that those monuments were built. So they're a reminder that there were great civilizations before in the past, it appears, Moon, Atlantis, and they sank, and or did whatever. They were destroyed by whatever forces. And maybe we got to look at some of those forces and say, maybe we're responsible for some of those forces, and maybe that would be something as a reminder in this really incredible time that we live in right now. Yeah. I guess we could go over. We could go over down with that tree. I don't know what this parking lot is set up like.
Let's go like right here.
I thought about it. I just thought if we could. You just guys stay there a second. I'll just see if there's any like earth we can stand on down here. If it's just straight parking lot. Straight parking lot, no way.
What time is it?
I should know.
Here's Earth right here. We can stand.
Well, either there or right in front of where the garbage place is, because you know, this is kind of slow, but this is kind of funny. This wouldn't be bad. Or up here's better.
Yeah.
Maybe this would be good on their lawn, because you know, this is really interesting. My parents bought the house because I could be born. The house got hit the day after I complained to city council about how much money they were charging for me to tear down my house. They were trying to tear down my house, and it was like, I guessed it was $33,000, and it was something in that range. And the house got hit the next day by a BC Tel truck that rolled down this hill and hit that house. And that is my parents' house. It's a new house now.
Really?
Here I am, born and raised, and then here we're doing this outside. You want to talk about Sasquatch? Okay. Let's go up here. I'll play cookie for a minute.
You hold this here.
Now, Jake, you said something about Trout Lake.
Yeah.
You said you're going up there to stay there for a few days or something?
Potentially. We have land there.
You have land there?
Yeah.
So Trout Lake is Kootenai?
Is it?
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Trout Lake is Kootenai. And as I said about Kootenai, I said that it's the crown chakra of the world, the 1,000-petal lotus, part of the original Garden of Eden. And I believe this from what I can see, from the evidences that I've experienced. Actually, I've said about 26 or so things about the Kootenai that have come true, including the Precambrian rock and stuff. But it's just like, if you're in harmony with God, then God, however you conceive God, then you get these answers. I had a theory years ago that the moon affected avalanches. It's now accepted by the avalanche community, basically the professionals that
Really?
you know, and
The
it's like
full moon or what?
yeah, both new and full. That's the part I missed. The new moon is even more strong than the full moon, but both moons affect because I've got an avalanche degree. I got an avalanche National Research Council avalanche certification, and the next year I developed this theory in 1974 or so that the moon affected avalanches, and that it's based on astrological principles, basically electromagnetism and gravitation. And yes, it will change the gravity. It will change that avalanche potential. You know, you can imagine a slope and you've got the new moon or the full moon coming over the eastern horizon, you've got a slope that's ready to go anyway maybe, and you've got that snow, and that snow may be on a it may be on a molecular level, an atomic level, or it may even be on a macroscopic level, like at the level of the snow crystal itself. But whatever, if you've got, let's say, layers in that snow, for instance, is one of the ways that avalanches will be caused, and one of those layers is subtly pulled a little more away from another layer, then maybe, you know, an unwary skier or a snow boulder could cause that whole slope to go.
Sasquatch is like the Freudian personification of like the wild man, which is just the unknown aspect of existence in general. That's scary. Well, that's the personification of that fear. Well, that's what you're like seeing, but
What's that? Did I scare you?
So the Sasquatch. Yes, well, so, you know, my name is Gary Camozzi. I was born in Rossland, BC. And I went out one time in Rossland one night when I decided I would go sleep in the bush. It was a nice summer night. It was about August or something like that. And I didn't want to sleep in town, and all I had to do was walk a couple of blocks, and I was over there on Red Mountain, and I could go camp somewhere in the trees, you know. So I just threw this American Army sleeping bag I had over my shoulders. I had better ones, but this was the one I could just rough around in, and I threw it over my shoulders and went for a walk about 4 in the morning. And a place I'd never been before. I just kind of walked in there. I know the mountain. It's full of mine shafts and stuff, but I just kind of walked where I knew I wanted to walk. And dark of the moon, couldn't see my hand in front of my face, and I got to this kind of place, and I said, "This is good, you know. This is good." And it was a kind of a little copse, you know, little copse in the trees, you know, and I could, you know, feel the kind of the copse in the trees. You know, the trees around. I said, "This is good here." myself. So I took my shoes off and I stood on the top of the sleeping bag. I just kind of wanted to let everything know that I was there, so I wasn't going to be hassled because I wasn't making any kind of a fire or anything, or peeing around camp to let the bears know that I might be there, 15 feet out around me in a circle or anything. So just to let everybody know that I was, there and I was going to be sleeping for the night, I said, "Don't nobody fucking disturb me!" And I lay down. And I was there about 5 minutes. And all of a sudden, wow! When you're in harmony, though, the universe will give you the answers, and that's what the God within us is.